Simon Shimon, Brooklyn Republican.
John Flatel, Brooklyn Democrat.
Bianca Perez, Bronx Democrat.
All right, is there any old business or anything that you were supposed to bring back to the valley? You want to start off with this meeting, and then we'll just hit a couple quick topics?
Sure. I wanted to begin by showing you, you've seen this before, but I don't know if everyone in the public has seen it. This is the mock-up of the voter registration displays that the idea was born out of the Bronx office to modify the table displays to decrease the blueprint, essentially, the footprint, essentially, and then in turn hope that they will be more prominently displayed. So we have worked with Vanguard, our vendor, to procure 1,000 of these units at a purchase price of $22 per unit. That's a cost savings to the agency because Beth Fasella used to procure the larger tabletop displays at a cost of $37 per unit. And in addition, these hold more voter registration forms than the others in the past. These hold 25 per language, and the tabletop displays that Beth Fasella previously distributed held 50 per language. We plan to send these out to all of the libraries and post offices in the city of New York, and in addition, reach out to BIDs, merchant associations, community boards, and elected officials to have this in their offices prominently displayed. We are finalizing the messaging. Right now, this is just a placeholder, your voice, but we want a call to action, to take one and have your voice be heard. Okay?
Couple 1,000 sounds kind of skimpy to me. Number one. Number two, is CFB in on this? Because I thought they were also interested, and if they were to come in, because they have to do major distribution to the agencies,
Right.
that would really.
Well, Onita does have, she has the mock-up, she has the
Okay.
price, the estimate from the vendor as well, in terms of, they haven't gotten back to me in
Okay.
terms of where, but
But
we
the
were
city
legally
is
required to
looking-
send out the, best voter registration display cases to the libraries and to the post offices, so we wanted to get that first order out as soon as
Okay.
possible.
I think that would be a good way to kind of test out the new setup.
Right.
Everything sounds great until it's actually in use, and then sometimes it's smaller, that
Right.
means it disappears faster.
Right.
Maybe it's best thing since sliced bread, but
Right.
probably somewhere in between, so we'll give it a run.
Okay.
Who's finalizing the script on the top?
Well, we're gonna come up with the text, we're gonna likely come up with a few different logos and present it to the commissioners for approval. Yeah, and they will,
Spanish one.
they have to, right, well, it'll be one in English that'll be translated into all 5 languages.
Right, but that translation is terrible.
Oh,
The
okay.
one that's.
Oh,
right now.
okay, you put the translation from English to Spanish? Okay.
The only thing I see missing from the box is why you should vote, other than your voice. I would think it'd be nice to have a little more,
We have limited space, we
Right.
have
I
5
know,
different
but-
languages, I know we'd like to do that.
you know, if maybe there was a little pocket card or something, you know, a little bookmark that could be included instead of just the,
Well, you
Registrations?
know what it is, what we're planning on doing, I mean, we do it in the Bronx anyway, we have an outreach team, which Brooklyn is doing as well. And the outreach team is giving a presentation similar to the NYC votes lesson plan that they had. We're gonna be doing that as we go into each organization, explaining it to them, talking about it to its members. And so that's kind of gonna be their call to action.
And we have other collateral materials in-house. I'm sure we probably have small posters and things
We
of that
have,
nature.
actually, it's a booklet style, frequently asked questions on voter registration. We could look into doing something like a palm card.
that
That's something that we
that
could
sounds like a. Yeah, it would
Now,
be
in
a-
terms of, I mean, because we received the estimate as is, we have to then create palm cards and include them in palm cards that would change the
We
price.
could do
So,
that
you know,
separately,
we
let's
could
get
look
them
at, right.
out as quick as possible.
Right.
Waiting on this long enough.
To the libraries and
Meeting and
POs.
stuff, and
Citywide.
to the merchants, the bids, whoever we can get it to. I mean, the big thing is preparing for 2016, so everyone, we're gonna be encouraging everyone to vote, we're gonna be doing it publicly, we're gonna be in everybody's face. that's gonna be their call to action, that they should be voting as a presidential election. We just wanna make it, the point of this was to make it easily accessible everywhere and not be so big and obnoxious
Right.
everywhere.
And expand the reach, because we were limited before just to the libraries and the post offices. So now this has expanded the reach.
Valerie, can you go into the real estate offices?
I mean, I think we can take it from the
We're gonna bring them
commissioners.
to the
can-
bids,
right.
and then the bids are gonna tell us what businesses are interested and what merchant representatives that are at the business improvement districts are interested in taking it. I know candy stores, possibly real estate. Wherever there's a high volume of people, I don't know necessarily if real estate
Well,
offices would
people
have as
are
many
moving.
people as much as,
People who come
say, the
into-
lotto counter near the local Optimal store.
Right,
you
but
know?
the point is that people want, going into a real estate office, if they're looking for a rental, or they're buying something, they're moving, and they need to be reminded that if they move, they have to re-register. Are you aware that out of Ben Kalos's office is a new bill that he
Yes.
wants to, yeah, and we're not sure we can support it, because there's a lot
What,
of,
I didn't,
yeah.
you said dot.
Yeah.
bill?
Yeah, what's the bill?
The bill is to require
Require
landlords to attach a voter registration form to their
New leases.
lease. And then the landlord would collect it and then return it to the Board of Elections. And it's problematic. Various people think it's problematic because the landlord is gonna have access to a lot of personal information about a tenant by looking at a voter registration form.
Well, they usually have that, right? They usually.
They have a lot more than that now.
Well, I'm just letting you know what some
No,
have
we
said.
understand, I don't think the board's taking a position, or we've
Right, I'm
decided
just
on a
letting you
position to take
know
on
that that's
bill
what
yet.
some of even the good government world, that's part of our problem with it, that we, there's already a lot of tension between landlords and tenants as it is, and we're not certain whether we can support this. But we do believe that there's no harm in asking a real estate agency if they'd like to have a display, because.
I would imagine a lot of
People
realtors are members of local bids, because the bid is representing
Okay,
commercial strips throughout the city,
Okay.
right? Small business districts.
I would say that we want to follow, my feeling is that we start with entities that we can indirectly or directly control, so that when we want to check in on our boxes that need stocking or need replacement or are being used to scrap paper, we want to make sure that we're not just putting these out everywhere and then, there's a cost consideration too. So I think maybe we start with what's required statutorily, feel it out,
fair
and
enough.
then, and then maybe the next logical step is a bid where there's a little more organization.
Right.
Who's restocking these, who's making sure that they're not defaced, or that somebody's just taking all the forms because, they have a bright idea and then they do nothing. Now you have an empty bin that's sitting there, and that store owner feels that it's just an empty bin, I'm throwing it in the garbage. So,
I agree.
especially in this digital age where we're trying to move away from paper. I know that we still need a piece of paper and a wet signature to vote, but the flow of information is greater than it's ever been. So,
Maybe that's your hook. I know you love your phone, but you still have to register with a piece of paper.
Are these registration forms going to be coded like the ones for the CUNY, so that you can track them?
They will be coded, Beth will have it coded, yes, in terms of, we'd have to explore if we want to code hours that are sent to bids. Then we have to look into that. It's just a matter of MIS creating a drop down, but they'd have to be printed with the code.
Any good marketing plan needs an activation phase, and like Commissioner Shimon was saying, someone to stay on top of it. In the Bronx, we have the outreach team, which are two individuals that are completely responsible for it, and they have the connections with each of the organizations, which are the merchants, the bids, community boards, and they're in contact with a person. They have a list for each organization with a contact person, and they'll call periodically, hey, I know you have a meeting the third Thursday. It's every 6 months or so, can we come there and just say hello and pop our face in?
Yeah. No, it's like when they come into the office or to be entered, that they can capture statistics on how effective this program is. Because if they're coded, then you can do that.
We can look into it with the MIS department, because it would be interesting in terms of metrics, but I'm not sure if in this preliminary phase, if we can do that, because they have to be pre-printed with those. These are already, we received from the state board, and Vanguard prints them for us. In order for it to be coded, we have to wait for that process, for the printing to occur.
The next
and
round
follow.
of printing.
So the next round, I think would probably likely make sense for us to do that.
Are these the new ones, new registration forms?
These are.
Okay.
And in terms of, there will be on the back end, there'll be a contact information in terms of if their stock, if their inventory is low, to please contact us, and they'll have an email address as well, so we can get them additional forms out to them if they see that they run through their respective languages or regiments.
So that would be libraries, post offices, bids, and community boards primarily in this, say, in this round one, that would,
And elected officials.
and elected officials.
Would you consider good government forms?
Yeah, if somebody wants.
I mean, I was thinking, you know, like when we go out, it would be kind of nice if we go, especially to a housing project.
Yes. In addition, this also came out of the Bronx office as well. But I can speak to the fact that our general office outreach team has stated that in the past, when they've attended street fairs, they are plainclothes, and as they're going to an individual to have them fill out the voter registration form, it does have sensitive information: their address, their original signature, sometimes the last 4 digits of their social security, or their non-drivers or driver's license ID. And there was some resistance in terms of giving it to the individual, asking for a form of ID to ensure them that they are represented for the Board of Elections. So the idea of having a uniform for our voter outreach staff was born. And this just basically mirrors that of the uniform of the technicians that go out on election day. It's just a poll. These are white with blue lettering, where the texts are blue, and it just states voter outreach. So I've been in communication with each of the borough offices to see who they have that does their voter reg or their outreach events, and they've all given me the sizing, and we placed the order. They came in yesterday, so we are ready to distribute them to the borough offices this week.
Great, and that came along with, obviously, it allows people to understand, yes, they work for the Board of Elections, and also like that, the old commercial, there goes that Channel 7 news van for 2016, there goes
Right.
that voter outreach team, we wanted them to be everywhere.
Right. And easily identifiable, especially with the street events and those types of. where
That
it's-
front, that's our seal?
That's our seal.
Agency seal?
Mhm.
Okay.
We also ordered, you referred to Commissioner, collateral materials, and when you're out doing street events, so we always find that it is helpful to give something to, some branded information to voters. We ordered pens that are pens and also an iPad or a stylus as well. So we placed the order, we should be getting that soon, within the next few weeks.
Yeah, we can have.
Thanks.
Did we ever, we talked about the marketing budget and the public relations campaign, did we ever get a copy of that contract? Or
Oh,
can we
yes.
still get a copy of that contract?
The
to look at?
Burson contract, yes, I distributed that, but I can get that to you in addition.
Yeah,
I can get another copy.
if we do have a request, or for some we do, or we should even start looking for companies that would be interested in going in partnership with us for 2016, and let them come to us with a couple of proposals, and then try and go fight for it from the city council.
We have, within that contract, there's a list of all the subcontractors that we worked with, so that would be a good resource, since they're familiar with the agency, maybe we can move forward. But we have to include the ACO in terms of the procurement, because if it's over a certain amount, we have to go through a full bidding process.
Would that would be handled by our ACO?
Yes,
Not DCAS?
no, it would be handled by our ACO.
Anything else, anyone else have any questions for Val, or anything they want to bring up, any topics in the business? Any commissioners, and then we'll get to the public.
Just update on the student voter registration day.
I can speak, it was, I know that there were multiple commissioners that were out that day. Commissioner Renzino can speak to that as well. I myself was with Mike Ryan, our executive director, in Brooklyn. It was very successful. We spent the day with Councilmember Reynoso. We found that the students were very excited to hear from both guest speakers who served as facilitators. According to
What school was that?
I have to, I'm trying to think of which. No,
I know
no,
the council.
the council member, Reynoso, I'd have to look into, I
Okay.
can't remember off the top of my head the schools. But we visited 3, they were all in the same school, different schools within that same building. In terms of the voter registration, the voter registrations that we received for the day, it was a little shy of 2,000 across the 25 schools. They've all been clocked in and sent to the respective boroughs for processing.
We did good, I mean, we went to high school, Lehman High School, so we saw kids constantly, they're broken up into 4 high schools now, and so we constantly saw kids from probably 10 o'clock in the morning to 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The New York City votes, the curriculum that they gave was good. I think we could do a little bit better if we kind of had our own little thing. So we can think about teaching maybe Professor Flato and Commissioner Flato shares that hat and teaches some of our outreach team on how to give a presentation and the right way to do that. If each of the members from the borough, if you're willing to spend a little so with them,
Absolutely.
and kind of do our own little outreach, talking about facts and forward things. And, I know they use the Dominicals organization, right? They like subcontracted it?
Well,
to a lot of
they
their
work,
stuff?
apparently NYC Votes had, they worked with various good government groups and they had volunteers who served as facilitators. So in some cases, it was elected officials, it was commissioners, and representatives from good government groups. And Eddie Cuesta from Dominicanos, I think it's Dominicanos USA. Yeah, he was one of the facilitators, his organization. But everyone they were assured that Campaign Finance and the board that they would be nonpartisan and that they would simply give the students the option to explain, go into details about all parties, and have the students fill them out in confidentiality and they're there if they had any questions. But again, from my experience, I did think it was there could have been some improvements, like in some of the schools, it wasn't visible that there was student voter registration going on. So in terms of more blanketing the area with some more advertising, just passing out flyers or signage, I think would likely help just to generate more buzz within the school that it's something that was occurring that day. One thing, at least for our experience, and that's kind of where we felt like it was time for us to order some more collateral materials, some pens, was because they really took to that. I mean, the NYC Votes, they had wristbands, they had pens, they had a lot of different, they had candy, they had a lot of different things to try to entice the students. And, you know, we were lacking in that. So I think that's where some of us
People
go.
love free treats.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I run a bar. If you give them a keychain, you know, they'll do anything.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
I have a question. Kate and I and the other group, people in the League of Women Voters on voter service, realized that kids register more kids than people that look like me. So would you be interested in hiring, like from the summer youth program, kids that you could train to go out with your team to do registration? We got some really wonderful ones in the office the other day.
Right, they're already paid. We wouldn't have to hire. We could possibly be a site and have X number assigned, maybe a few from each borough. They're receiving a summer salary for it.
Right.
Right, and we had a computer genius that came into the league. I worked at the library. They were just good at matching at that point, but, you know, at least half of them were such a delight to have and were worth their weight in their gold, in their own weight, because it was really helpful to have a younger face.
I don't know the
There's a
time,
lot
yeah,
of
there's a
issues.
time frame.
The
in
summer
terms
youth
of-
program this
they've
year,
already
the
started
applications
signing.
are due April 10th, I know because my daughter is a summer youth program employee, but for next year.
For next
we
year,
could
that's something,
definitely
and we would definitely need
Residential,
the full
yeah, a
board.
little bit.
right.
I think they would do April 10th, the application.
I know Brooklyn a little better, but there's the Church Avenue Association that also
Campbell.
has a summer youth program that might,
I think there might still be time because they put in those applications just last week, about, well, April 10th. But I'm not sure that they've assigned, at least the youth have assignments yet. So, we
So
have
if
a
you
direct
want-
relationship with the city. I'm sure if we ask for an X number, give us
So
2 or 3 high school
you can just give
students.
me
We
that
would also
action
have to
item.
have bipartisan,
Right.
so if
Yeah,
they don't have a
balance.
Republican youth, they have that, they need a Republican as well as a Democrat.
but you have the
Whatever we
two
have a
trainers
supervision
going with
of our
them.
staff.
Still want to have it like that.
You still want the teenage, well, actually, I've run into a lot of Republican youth, who live in Brooklyn.
Deadline April 24th.
For,
To submit the application. Right, and then when you submit the application, you request which agency you'd like to work for.
Oh, so then
Or
that
which
means that.
organization. Because there's a,
Mm.
It's on the form to
it's
select.
on the form.
So it's just.
It's part of the application
The
then.
selections,
So
we have to get on that list.
so I can call them and see what the
Let's look
process
into
is.
it, let's
and I
look
can
into
report
the
back.
legal
Right,
ramifications as well, because we'd have to train them, because they'd be representing us, they wouldn't just,
right.
there'd be more to it than just having them show up at the outreach event and help us out and publicize us, so. But definitely for next year, look into it, let's find out what we could do and how we'd set a program like that, let's not just rush into a program like that, because a lot more bad things could happen than.
Okay.
Is that it?
I mean, and I mentioned that Councilmember Reynos, we attended the student voter registration activities with Councilmember Reynos, so, and I have also been in communication with Councilmember Rosenthal, and we plan on expanding student voter registration day and have our staff go out and do similar training out into the schools. throughout the
It just occurred to me, and I should be on top of this because I'm a CUNY professor. The semester ends in about 30 days, and then there'll be graduation. Is there any kind of communication with CUNY Central, Vice Chancellor Hershenson?
We had a
about
meeting with
possibly
Stacy.
trying to make one more pass at the CUNY students before
I had a meeting with Stacy Emanuel from the
out of
Chancellor's
his
office.
office?
And we spoke to her about having CUNY sites for training and as well as working together in terms of additional outreach that we can do. And she was gonna reach out to the schools, 'cause she thought she would be the perfect point person and then report back.
Okay, great.
She mentioned graduation specifically.
All right, we'll let you know when the next meeting is going to be, probably about a month from now, but we will post it on our website and dial one for everybody who wants to